Hi there, this is S.J. Thomason with Christian-Apologist.com. I thought I would do a little video on something that I saw this morning online, and it was a little schism between a couple of atheists or anti-theists. One would be considered an anti-theist, the other one is against anti-theist. However, he is an atheist. Then there were the agnostic feuds. And so I've been noticing a little feud going on in the atheist community. And I also noticed that there are even some people who don't want us to call it the atheist community. So I found this site, and I'm going to go ahead and open it up now so that you can take a look at 10 facts about atheists, and then we'll see whether or not these ring true for the people that we know. All right, so let's see. Here we go to what Pew says. So we've got 10 facts about atheists. They collected some data here. The author here is Michael Liptka. Okay, so he says the share of Americans who identify as atheists has increased modestly but significantly in the past decade. That's true. So we're seeing more people who are identifying as atheists. We see here that Pew Research Center telephone surveys conducted in 2018 and 2019 said 4% of American adults say they're atheists when asked about their religious identity, up from 2% in 2009. So that's going up. The literal definition of atheist is a person who does not believe in the existence of a god or gods, according to Merriam-Webster. And the vast majority of US atheists fit this description. 81% say they do not believe in God, but however, roughly 1 in 5 say they do believe in some kind of higher power, just not the Christian God. 3 says atheists make up a larger share of the population in many European countries. So take a look at this map. Look at the Czech Republic. Wow, 25% of people are atheists in the Czech Republic. You see 15% in Slovakia, that's very high. 15% in France, that's a little bit surprising. I didn't realize that the share of atheists in France is that high. I did know that the share in Sweden is relatively high. You see 14% there and 11% in Norway. Denmark comes in at 16%. Belgium's pretty high, 19%. Now my brother's in Germany. That's 10%. He is an agnostic, so he is among a group that is bigger than in the United States. So in the US, atheists are mostly men and relatively young. So you can see the average age for atheists is 34, and they're more likely to be white and highly educated. Okay, 43% have a college degree compared with 27% of the general public. So that's relatively high. And also it says most are aligned with the Democratic Party. Now this is where we got into the little rift that I noticed this morning between Skylar Fiction and Adam Friended. It was actually a little bit amusing. So we're going to look at that in just a little bit, and you'll see what I'm coming at here. I think there are two perspectives from the atheist view. One is that atheists are liberal left-leaning. The other is we don't want to be identified as liberal left-leaning atheists. That comes in from people also like Noel Plum, who made a video on 10 things atheists should not say. Okay, so we're going to talk about that too, just a little bit. Majority say religion's not too important in their lives. Where do they find meaning? A lot of them find meaning is in hobbies that they find satisfying, and they're more likely to describe finances and money, creative pursuits, travel, and leisure activities as meaningful than other people, okay? So in many cases, being an atheist isn't just about personally rejecting religious labels. Most atheists also express negative views when asked about the role of religion in society. Now that is where Adam Friended and Skylar Fiction had this little bit of a rift. So they may not believe in religious teachings, but they're very informed about religion. I will give that to them. A lot of them are very informed about religion. Most say it's not necessary to believe in God to be moral, while 42% say belief in God is necessary to have good values. So you see that. And then we have this kind of interesting thing. Americans feel less warmly towards atheists than they do toward members of most religious groups. Now you'll see right here on this feeling thermometer, as 100 is the warmest. US adults gave atheists an average of 49, which is identical to Muslims, and colder than what they viewed as their positions on Jewish people, 63%, or 63 is the number I should say, Catholics 60, and evangelical Christians 56. Now I fall into the latter camp of evangelical Christians. I don't consider myself a fundamentalist Christian, however. I consider myself an evangelist, meaning I do want to go out and spread the good news because I feel that we have a lot of reasons to back that up. So let me step back over here and take a look at something else. Oh, hello, Stripper Liquor. And so I got a letter from Stripper Liquor, who's going to come on my channel at some point. His name's Jacob. Sounds like a better name than calling him that. So we will go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and go to something that I also found very interesting today. So this was over on Twitter. So we're going to go look at a feud that I saw on Twitter. Actually, before we go to that feud that I saw on Twitter, I think I've got something else kind of interesting that I spotted. So let me just bring up another page here from Noel Plum. He made a video about me once, so I made a response video to him. I don't think he liked my response video to Noel Plum, but I did it anyway. Sometimes I'm that kind of a person. So I think this is really funny. 10 things atheists should stop doing. So this is Noel Plum's video. We're going to get to that in just a second. Whoops. Let me play down that ad that's on there. Got some interesting stuff on Noel's video here. Let's just see. Okay, skip ads. Okay, here we go. So, all right. So right now I'm going to go ahead and share the screen so you guys can have a view of Noel's video here. 10 things that atheists should not say. Now, I have already taken a look ahead to see what these 10 things are that atheists should not say, according to Noel Plum. Shoot, no, why don't I see that on the screen? Okay, let me get back to the 10 things. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so Mr. Noel Plum. Now, I'm going to mention an overview of what Noel says. Now, Noel is, here's the deal. I think there's a camp. Now, you just saw with the statistics I showed you that most atheists tend to lean to the left. Most are relatively young. Most are white males. Now, Noel, as you can see, fits the white male category. I don't know how old Noel is, but I mean, if he's 34, then he would be the average age, according to what that study just said. And if he's older, then he's older. But here's the deal. So Noel tends to lean more conservatively. So he does not like to be thrown into the left-leaning camp. And so he said he also doesn't like some other interesting things. So let's see what he says he does not like. Because I think it's kind of funny.
Now, I know it sounds...
Whoops. Okay, here we go.
Pretty definitive, doesn't it? Well, it's my opinion. So it is pretty much the final word. So this video was inspired by GM Skeptic in a video that he made, 4 more things that atheists should stop saying. My video was inspired by that, but there's going to be 2 key differences. The first is that I'm not going to spend the first few minutes of the video just making sure that I don't offend anybody, or please don't be annoyed that I've said something and trodden on your toes. Right.
So Noel doesn't mind annoying people and treading on people's toes. I think this might be one of the reasons why he has 37,000 subscribers. He's got a lot of people who adhere to his view. So.
Right, this is my opinion here. It's YouTube. You should know that by now. So if I say something that you disagree with, leave a comment, argue with me. That's the way that it works. The second difference is that he only gave you, just checking I've got the right number of fingers here, 4 things. I'm giving you 10. How about that for a bit of value for money? So let's get on with the list, and let's start off with number 1. Okay, actually it's number 1 because it's the one we're starting off with. We're not starting off with it because it's number 1. Number 1, stop using the phrase the atheist community.
Okay, so he doesn't like using the phrase the atheist community. Now let's take a look at if this is a valid concern of Noel's. So we're going to go and see if it commonly used the phrase atheist community. Then we're going to come back to Noel. So let me just go over, I'm going to swoop over to Twitter, and I'm going to type in godless_mom, because she is a kind of famous atheist in the atheist community. And then I'm going to type in atheist community. Now, let me just bring you back over to this screen. So here we go. Is this the one? Yes. Okay. So here we go. Godless mom, atheist community. Let's see. Is this valid that Noel has come up with? Well, here we go. Looks like some people talking about the atheist community. Let's see if this is lately. Okay, so we've got July 18th people checking in here. There's Godless Mom. Courtly Hurd is her real name. She's mentioning the atheist community. It looks like something that is being used a lot. Godless Mom, thank you for the article. It put my work on the atheist community in so many eloquent words. Okay, so we've got this community of people, the atheist community. Again, you can see that this looks like a valid concern of Noel's. So let's go back to Noel and see if he has any other concerns that we want to listen to. Okay, so we're going to go to this next one. Okay. Whoops. Make sure you guys can hear that. All right. So we're going to swoop ahead here and go to the next one. Now, he also does not like the phrases skepticism and secularism. So I'm going to skip those in his tent. So he doesn't like to be called skeptics or a part of this secularism. It's not something that he prefers. Now, a lot of atheists have named themselves skeptic. Okay, so the skeptic is in a lot of the atheist names. I don't even need to go online to try to back that. He also doesn't like the political rallies. Okay, he mentioned that too. Now, the idea of the political rally is a lot of times they have those, and they even call them the Faithless Forum or the Reason Rally or other names like that. The atheists also had a big rally with David Silverman leading them not too long ago. I think it was in Ohio or somewhere like that. But anyway, so they've had these sort of rallies where they all get together. He doesn't like the fact that he doesn't consider all of the atheists in this community to be a community. It's more like a diaspora where it's spread out all over the world and people have diverse opinions. The only thing that unites them is the atheism. He also doesn't like the reference of babies as atheists. Now, that's kind of an interesting thing because I also just happened to see something about that this morning. And so let's go and see what we see with atheists. Are babies? Okay, let's look. Inbox document. I'm not getting the right thing. Okay. So let's take a look. Okay, so is this reasonable? So I happened to go into Steve McRae because I was interacting with him a little bit this morning. Now, Steve is right there with Adam Friended and Noel. These are the ones who'd like to fight. They're the ones who are shaking the pot of their friends. And so what does Steve say here? Here we see right in front of here, we've got validation of the skeptic. Here's Charlie Skeptic in this group as one skeptic example to support this idea that Noel was coming up with. So I'm going to go back to Steve McRae. Why is this not coming to Steve? Oh, there we are. Here's Steve McRae. And you can see right here about a couple of things. Now, we're going to mention a few other things. Noel also doesn't like specific definitions of atheism. Now, that happens to be something that Steve does like. He gets quite into specific definitions of atheism. He also doesn't like the fact that a lot of atheists call themselves ex-Christians. I don't think he thinks that's true. I'm not exactly sure. But let's go down here. Up, look, we have Team Skeptic. More support for the idea that there's skepticism. Okay, so look at this. I'm an atheist and I can't stand the atheist community on the internet. In many ways, they are worse than theists and have, in essence, created a religion out of atheism. What an interesting thing to find on Steve McRae's. It's almost like Steve McRae happened to be listening to Noel's video because we see some evidence of some of the things in Noel's video on Steve's timeline. So I haven't gotten to all of them, but just give me a second here. And then we're going to go take a look at the interactions between Skylar Fiction and they're really funny. Skylar Fiction and Adam Friended. So funny. Okay, so hold on. So Steve actually made a video. He's made videos on God, gumballs, and God. He doesn't like the idea that people say they lack a belief in God, for example. That's not something he likes. Someone telling him he confuses belief with knowledge. Steve doesn't like that either. Okay, so let's see. Here we go. So ridiculous. Okay. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to find the baby tweets. Okay, where are we here? This is why people need to go to his timeline, because he's always fighting people. It's actually really funny. Okay, so let's see. Why can't I find the we're still looking for this. There's a picture of babies in here somewhere. What is this? I don't know what he's got going on here. So, okay, I don't know why it's taking so long. I wonder if I'm in the wrong part where I'm not getting the replies. Maybe that's my problem here. Yes, that's the problem. I didn't get to the reply part, so I'm missing the baby thing. So sorry about that, friends. Now, I called this a free-for-all in case people want to join. You're more than welcome to join today. SJ is not an expert. Look at that. I find that right on his timeline. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Okay, so Steve says, you go first, seeing as you are the one claiming there is a God. I'm not making a claim. I don't claim there is a God. Therefore, I don't have to defend the idea that babies don't believe in God until you demonstrate there is one in the first place. And he writes, this is a claim. Please show your actual evidence without using semantic nonsense that babies are atheists. I can wait. Okay, so we've got this idea that's in support of what was said. So babies do not process higher cognitive functions nor executive decision-making abilities. They have not attempted to evaluate the proposition of God existing and are innocent towards P as they are unaware of P. God is a learned concept and proposition. Okay, so now let's take a look, just for some fun. We're gonna go over to Skylar Fiction's Twitter and, and look at his, okay, so here we've got Skylar Fiction. And this little interaction that we saw today. Okay, so I want to get to the funny one. Oh, wow. Skylar just gets blocked every day by people. It's just amazing. I'm surprised that Reformed Boy blocked him, but what do you know? Okay, so why did he block him? Must be this tweet right here. Okay, here we go. So this was funny. Okay, all right, so so Adam Friended basically said some stuff about social contagion. Let's see if we can get to that. If I can just find where this one began, that would be ideal. Okay, so I think we might have to go deep into one of these threads. All right, so this is the idea. So Adam Friend said, this anti-theist has never read any research studies on social contagion. Most the YouTube skeptics are idiots. They stand under the banner of moss science and throw science in the trash of politics. All right, so Adam was acting a bit hostile towards Skylar, and Skylar said, this is what pandering to an audience looks like. He has no clue what I've read. Ironic, he would call me out for being skeptic when he himself is a skeptic. Now, this also is in line with what Noel was saying. And then Skylar writes, I think I made someone angry. I don't even have a cable. Nice try there. And he says, I'm reading about social contagion while you watch MSNBC. Go back to your echo chamber. So you can see right here, we've got an argument between a person who is left-leaning, which I would say Skylar is left-leaning, and Adam Friended. Actually, interestingly, Adam is left-leaning, so he says, but a lot of the views that he puts out on Twitter seem like he leans a little bit to the right. So it's kind of an interesting interaction between these two. And so we see that kind of stuff on Twitter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back over here to the live stream. I'm going to say, hi, everybody who's in here. If you guys would like to come on, I can actually do a link if anyone's interested. Is anybody interested in coming in here? So if you are, I'm going to go ahead and list. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. People are interested. Let me just see where I do that again. Okay, got the invite. Okay, this is what I call free for all, meaning it's open for everybody. All right, here we go. That's the link. If anyone's interested in joining, you can go ahead and do that. Now, what I've talked about so far, if you just joined this, is I've taken a look at I looked at the interaction today between Skylar. Here's what's going on here. There are a couple of different types of atheists going on. They've got the Noel Plum, Steve McRae, and hi, John, it's nice to see you. Noel Plum, Steve McRae, Adam Friended tend to lean sort of on the conservative side, I think. I think they tend to be more conservative politically. And then we have this idea. Oh, Skylar. Skylar, were your ears ringing? This is too coincidental that you're on here. Okay, so Skylar, you're welcome to come in here. I actually just pinned the link up there. You are welcome to come in here if you want to chat about this, because I did bring up your interaction here. I thought it was pretty funny. And I also, Sentinel's always good to see you too. And Susan, all the good people here. You guys are great. But anyway, yeah, so I was showing, Skylar, if you don't know that, what I was doing is I was showing your interaction today between you and Adam Friended. And so because I found it interesting, I would say now, Skylar, you could say if this isn't the case with you, but I would say you seem like you might lean to the left on a lot of things politically. And I think that Adam says he leans to the left, but I think that for some reason, I think he actually might lean a little more to the right than he's willing to let on. And so I see a division between the two different types of atheists along here. You're the one more in conformance with what I read off the bat, which is the 10 things that atheists, 10 qualities that atheists have that I found in that Pew study. So we have that interesting issue going on. So, okay, so we're gonna go take another look. We'll go back to, oh, you're gonna come in, Skylar? Yeah, Skylar, come on in here. Somebody said, I actually, who it was is Jacob. Jacob's in there, and he said that I don't mind getting into a lion's den. And so Skylar is going to come into the lion's den if you call me a lion. Okay, all right, so here we go. So we're taking, oh yeah, so John Lloyd's making a little jab there at Skylar, saying he'd like to see a Skylar called Skylar Truth. All right, so Skylar, I saw also that you were blocked today by Reformed Boy. I'm not sure why or what you did, but okay, so here we go. I'm gonna see if Skylar joins here. Rob, you're welcome to join too. Anybody else who usually comes on here? So I'm just gonna wait to see. Here's the link again, in case you need it, you didn't see it before. Did I do the right link? Yeah, I think I did. I'm pretty sure that's the right link. Okay, so you can come on in if you want. Okay, so while I'm waiting here, let me go ahead and there was also another little feud that was going on, and this one was between Skylar and Eric Hernandez. And Skylar made a video. He might even want to talk about that, but he made a video response to Eric Hernandez's video, which was also a response to one of Skylar's video. And I think they were going back and forth on a lot of different things. And Skylar ended up taking down that video because it was, I guess it was a little too much. And, so, and I never got to see it, but I heard it was. Okay, Rob, come on in, guys. I'll be waiting for you guys. Let me make sure I got the right invitation here. Copy, invite link. Okay. All right, so we got a couple people in here. Okay, so that put up a lot of different issues. So anyway, so what my bottom line is that I've been saying so far is I was noticing that there are a couple of different camps in the atheist community. There's a right-leaning and a left-leaning camp. It's going to be really interesting how this works out. Oh, here's Skylar. It's going to be interesting how this works out with our upcoming election. And so, hey, Skylar.
Hey. I'm happy because this is like actually something I think you and I probably agree on. We're probably more politically aligned than I think you might even imagine. So this is going to be good.
I know we're aligned on a lot of things for sure. So so I definitely know that. And I was just noticing you have quite a suntan. Were you outside?
Yeah, I was at the beach. A couple of
wow. I don't think I've ever seen you that dark.
Yeah, no, I was out. I've been stuck in this house for months. I mean, we kept it as safe as we could, obviously, with everything. But we didn't really. So we stayed. We literally went to an empty beach, up to our room, back and forth. But yeah, no, and this lovely beard. Sorry, my children are going to the other room in a second. They'll quiet down. Yeah, it's been good. Life's
that's
good,
cool.
man.
Which beach did you go to out of curiosity?
This time we went to New Smyrna. Down there, we had a
New Smyrna,
condo out in New Smyrna. I like
nice.
your end of town. I like Clearwater better. Is my favorite beach personally.
Yeah.
But Smyrna, yeah, we had a good deal, so it was nice. It's quiet. It's a beautiful beach actually, and they have like a nice little sandbar. So with kids, they can play in the lower water, like they can play without going too deep, and me being paranoid and worried about them every 5 seconds. So
Yeah, because your kids are younger, right?
yeah,
Aren't
they're
they?
like 9 and 4.
Oh yeah,
So
4, especially 4. You got to worry about.
yeah,
So.
my son's and the 4-year-old's like the brave one. That's the one who's willing to like go crazy and jump into the water and go deeper and deeper. I'm like, dude, go on now, girl. I appreciate your bravery, but we got to relax a little bit. I didn't really.
It's
I
funny.
kind of heard the beginning. I caught on that you. I get what were we talking about? It's like talking about politics, but is there like a compare and a contrast, something with Adam or?
Yeah, I was looking at. Here's what I was looking at. So I found this video by Noel Plum. I've got that outlined right here. And oh, we've got Roddy Bunch in here. Let's see who that is. So we got letting in Roddy Bunch. I'm not sure. Don't know Roddy Bunch. We're about to find out. Hello, Roddy. Oh, he just jumped out. He might come back. Okay, no, I was looking at this video by Noel Plum, and he basically had 10 things that atheists shouldn't do. And he doesn't like it being called the atheist community. He doesn't like references to skepticism or secularism or leftism. He doesn't like political rallies. He says he doesn't like the words religion is delusional. He doesn't like people saying atheists and babies are atheists. And so he kind of went on and on about that. And then it reminded me of seeing your interaction today with Adam, friended. Which I found, for some reason, I found so amusing because you guys were like just totally butting heads, like in a really crazy way.
Here's the deal with Adam, and this is what I'm going to tell everybody: is personally, I think he's doing it for views and subscribers, and it's all fake, right? I think he's not a Christian, right? But he plays up Christianity constantly and constantly talks about non-believers and atheists in a negative way, ironically, when he is a skeptic and non-believer. Same thing with politics you were mentioning. I went through a list with him of Democratic policies, progressive, liberal, whatever word you want to throw on there, but policies, mainstream Democratic Party policies, and he literally agreed with every one of them. He thought economically we should have a democratic or a progressive healthcare plan. A progressive economic plan. He thought we should have some kind of universal healthcare. He was pro marijuana legalization. I mean, there's tons of things. So I don't really know. He makes up fake issues that aren't really issues to mainstream, I would say, liberals, progressives, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I am a registered Democrat, as you probably know. And so I tend to agree with a lot of the policies on education, the environment. I'd love to see universal health care. I have great health care, but I feel bad for people who don't. And so I would actually pay higher taxes if we could get universal health care. So I agree with that.
And think about how good that is for business too. You know a little bit about business. Like think about the burden we put on big companies to have to provide health insurance for their employees. And they're paying tons of money. This would be more money that businesses would have to reinvest, right?
No, you're right.
Absolutely. I really don't even understand. Conservatives really need to think about this other side of it too, because it benefits all sides to have a universal healthcare system.
Yeah, no, that is the reason, actually, that is the primary reason why I've tended to vote for Democrats, because of that exactly reason. I've actually known people who've passed away because they didn't have good health care and they were afraid to go to the doctor because they didn't want to run up the bills. And one of the examples is a good friend of mine. Her mom had breast cancer and she knew something was wrong with her breast, but she didn't have health care. She didn't have health insurance, and she just was afraid to go to the doctor and start running up the bills. And by the time she finally went, it was too late. And so now, unfortunately, she's no longer with us.
It's awful. So, I had to argue with, I'll tell you what, a couple of years ago, my wife had a pituitary tumor when she was a child, when she was young, right? But as she grew older, there's still certain kind of medications she needs to take. I always forget the name of it, but it was a very expensive medication, okay? But I had health insurance through a good tech company that, was a better health company that was providing it, paid a decent amount, and they were just simply like, nah, we're not going to cover that medicine. And I'm like, what?
Oh, wow.
She needs to live, because if she doesn't have it, she could die. Basically, her bones would be growing, and it could suffocate her chest. And I'm like, well, how much does the medicine cost? And they're like, oh, it's like $2,000 a month for a shot, one shot, basically. And I'm like, I mean, at the time, I was like, what, 23, 24? I'm trying to find out ways, like, how can I work 2 jobs to save my wife's life? But the fact that we would have to argue with a health insurance company over something we pay for and to deny life-saving medication I think
Oh.
should give every person pause to think about why it's so important we should have some kind of healthcare in this country.
Well, that's the whole thing. We are the only developed country that doesn't have some sort of a healthcare paid for by the government some way, that the government is funding the majority of healthcare. And one of the reasons, just like what you're mentioning, that $2,000 shot. I mean, come on, do they really need to collect $2,000 for the shot? I think the pharmaceuticals in a lot of cases are raking people in the US over the coals, because our prescriptions are much more expensive than they are across the border in Canada. And it's because they charge us more because they know we have insurance.
Isn't it insulin is a big problem? Isn't insulin?
That's another big one.
There's another one. What was the one that one guy bought the company and then raised the price of drugs by 800%? Might have been insulin, but it's crazy. Yeah, no, it's craziness. I don't get. People are so afraid of government health. I grew up in a military family, right? So my dad was Navy. I grew up on military bases. Everything was supplied by the government. Our healthcare, our entertainment, everything like that, and it worked great. Whenever I needed surgery or something happened, they took great care of me, and it was very efficient. We got everything, and there was no bills with it. And we were able to invest in other things, and my parents were able to put money in other areas so that we're not just have to be so focused on one particular area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the other thing I remember is when my parents they weren't 65 yet. They were like, say 63, and their insurance, they had to come up with $1,000 a month for the two of them for insurance. And that was in our small business, and they were funding it. And it wasn't even very good insurance. It was kind of a junky insurance.
And think about, like, that's a mortgage, $1,000.
Oh, yeah.
A mortgage. It's literally a mortgage. I think I got a good deal on my house, but I think we pay less than that. We pay less on a mortgage than that medicine would cost. It's interesting. I always look for it. Like, I hope somebody else joins that is like more conservative, like to actually, maybe compete, or we can talk about some of these different ideas, why it's negative. But I really don't understand a lot of the negatives to it. Personally, I get why people aren't huge fans of the Democratic Party. I get it. There's issues. I think they're terrible at branding. I think they're terrible at message sometimes. I think it's an easier argument too, right, for Republicans. Because think about, all right, you're big on education and healthcare, right? Like, so say you're running for office and you're like, hey, I want to provide healthcare and more funding for education. The first question is going to come out in everybody's mouth, like, how are you going to pay for it?
Mm-hmm.
And
they say taxes.
And then taxes. But it's like, but then it gets an argument. But then for the Republicans, this is why it's so easy for them. They're going to be like, we want to cut taxes. And who's going to argue with that? Because they're going to be like, oh, well, wait a minute. I don't want to pay any more taxes. Like, I don't want, I want less government. On the surface, sometimes these issues seem a lot more simple, but it's so much more complicated. And we really got to, I think that the fear of this in our country is quite terrible, to be honest with you.
No, I do too. I mean, that's the thing. Those are the things that there's certain things on some of the political stances right now. They're going too far to the left. Like, they're getting out of hand when they're some of the things that they're coming up with, I don't agree with at all. But I think in the moderate stance, I think that you and I are on the same page on this kind of stuff. So actually, somebody's asking a good question. What do y'all think of those folks in the US who won't wear face masks in supermarkets? Now, I have a big problem with that. Don't you?
Yeah, I think it's just selfish.
Just wear the mask. I mean, I have friends who work in those supermarkets and who work in stores and retail, and I just got my hair cut today, and we all wore masks. They took my temperature, they did all this stuff, and good,
And when we're down here in Florida, like, we're in a very dangerous part of the country right now for Corona. Like, the rates are through the roof down here, and the fact that, like, you can go out places and people are just being so
selfish.
It's just selfish. That's really what it all comes down to. Right. I know people who have asthma that wear a mask and it doesn't bother them. It doesn't do anything to lower your oxygen levels. They've done tests. I think I just saw a video, a guy put on 9 masks connected to a machine that would read the oxygen levels coming through, and it didn't even change it. Like, you could wear 9 masks and it would not change your oxygen levels.
Yeah, it's because I'll just give you an example. We have a family business that we used to run for many years, and we sold it in 2006 or 7, I forget what year, but we sold it to a company that the woman who started working with us in 1989 is still working for them right now. And so she's working, and it's a furniture business down in South Florida. So she's working with them, and she says that before they started mandating the mask, people would come in just total jerks, and they start swinging the masks around on their fingers and like, I'm not going to put it on, ha, ha, ha. And she's like, come on, man. I mean, she's risking her life every day to go to work. And she doesn't want to do that, but she needs to pay her bills. And you know what I'm saying? So it's just be courteous, for crying out loud.
I just don't understand where people think they're trying to be controlled. Right? Do you feel like people are controlling you, where you have to wear a shirt and shoes when you walk into a 7-Eleven or something? Right? Like,
yeah,
is that
that's
control?
true.
Like, and the other thing is, I don't know where all of a sudden people are talking about rights. It's like, what about the business owners' rights? Don't they have the ability to be able to make like decisions on what they're going to allow in their store? Right? As long as they're not discriminating, which is the law, you can't discriminate. You know, whether it's black, white, gay, whatever. Right? As long as you're not discriminating, it's not against the law, right? If you
just say we want to protect our workers,
exactly, and it's nothing unreasonable. Like we're not being people aren't unreasonable for saying, hey, can you just put this on? I have to, me, SJ, you know how I can get, and like I have to be careful when I'm out in public because I'll see someone without a mask and I'm just like, be quiet, Skylar, don't say it, don't say anything. This is not worth getting into a fight over or getting into an argument with. These people lose their minds. They go bananas about it.
Oh, I know.
What do you think with the? And I was asking somebody earlier. They thought I was a little too far left, which that's fair. Maybe I'm a little bit more on the left. But like, what do you think is a challenge on the left? What do you think is something they're not doing right? I might actually probably agree with you, to be honest.
What do I think they're not doing? Well, I think they want to give away. Well, let me just give it a good example. So the new Green Deal or Green New Deal or whatever AOC calls it, is going to cost us $93 trillion over a 10-year period, and it's just too much. And it's not. It actually would make us have a bigger percentage of socialism than Venezuela. And I don't want more government. Like, I don't think the government needs to. I love the idea of the government with healthcare, but everything else, no. And the Green New Deal has healthcare. I get that part. But all this other stuff that she's trying to retrofit in there, it's just too much. And I think that she actually thinks it should be funded through debt. So she uses what they call modern monetary theory, and thinking that it's like borrowing from Adam to pay John. It's borrowing from one source to pay another. It's like using credit cards to pay your credit cards. So it's just, and I see stuff like that and I think you're just so irresponsible. I mean, don't be like that with our money. We can't just go printing money like that because it's going to just cause inflation and big problems for us.
Sorry.
So I see that's a big thing.
My background.
What's that?
And I said, sorry if you heard me. I was yelling at my kids because they, of course, as soon as I come on here, they decide just to go crazy and be as loud as humanly possible. No, listen, I don't know if I necessarily disagree with you. Right now, I haven't looked enough into the bill to know all the details of what's going on in there. I think government has a part in definitely regulation in the sense of setting regulatory standards. Obviously things like pollution. Like, luckily, it's one of the few things the Republican, at least was it Rick Scott who actually banned oil drilling off of our coast? But that was a weird for.
I'm good with that.
To do. Yeah, I'm good with it. That's a good regulation. Like, we know we saw what happened before, where all this oil leaked onto our thing. I'm fine with regulation. I think the better answer would be for us to invest tax dollars into green technology funding, not funding, but green technology, right? And this is why I would say so, is because at least that's an investment we can sell to other people once we perfect it, right? If we can, we've split atoms, we've cloned people. At this point, we should be able to make it economically affordable to have electric cars on our roads, right? Like, so I think if we were to maybe focus more, it doesn't have to be solar, it could be whatever. I'm just whatever green renewable energy we can do, as long as we can invest in it, come up with a technology that's new, and then we can patent, copyright that technology, and sell it to other countries. Because right now China's doing that, and they're going to end up beating us because they're doing a lot of green energy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think I don't disagree with you necessarily. I think that's fair.
No, I actually, that's the thing. I can see definitely investing in green technology. That's one of the things that Biden is saying that I don't think is realistic though right now, is getting rid of all the coal mines. I think he said something like that. I don't think at this point we can do that yet. We need to have the alternatives all established, the windmills and all this other kind of thing. But I do think somebody needs to invest in this idea of desalination of the ocean water, because our water, our freshwater supplies are decreasing, and that's a worldwide global problem. And so while the sea level's rising, I mean, it's like the two are going together. The sea level's rising, there's salt water. If we could just somehow do a really inexpensive, if there's a way to desalinate that water, we could kill two birds with one stone, if
Well,
You know
yeah,
what
they're
I'm
certainly
saying?
definitely working on it. I know I've watched a couple documentaries. I mean, it's hard. It's a very difficult thing. It's weird to me. It doesn't seem like it'd be so difficult to be able to remove the salt from the water and all these other things, but or desalinate. But yeah, apparently it's really difficult. I think that would be a really, really good idea too, as far as that goes. Something I think you and I would probably also agree with. And I'll just be a little controversial and get myself in trouble here on your channel. Uh, is I think with some of the pro-life stuff, right? I think that like the way I think sometimes people on the left side of things can begin to dehumanize the situation, right? I think
I
it's one,
completely agree.
and I think it's one thing if one was to argue that, listen, I don't like abortion. We think it's evil, whatever, just using the word evil, but I think it's an evil act, but it's a necessary evil, right? I'm not saying I necessarily agree with that, but what I'm saying is that at least if you came from that route, I don't feel like you're trying to dehumanize the fetus. And I
Yeah.
think what happens is we get to this point where people just, oh, it's just a clump of cells. It's
Yeah,
just,
or terminate the pregnancy. Like that's what they told me. I could terminate the pregnancy. I'm like, what? You call my
yeah,
boy a pregnancy? Like terminate the pregnancy?
absolutely. And that's the thing is, and I think and it doesn't help anything, right? It doesn't help anything to use language like that. The Democrats used to be much better at that. The old school Democrats were much better about keeping things. It was like what was during the debates. It would drive me crazy during these Democratic primaries because they're all a half of them were trying to go as far left as possible and bringing up issues that are just like who was Julio Castro's like, I want to fight for transgender abortions. And I'm like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
I
See
don't
that
know.
now they lost me. I was
Well,
like,
well, I don't know
what?
what you're fighting for. Abortion's already
Like how
legal.
teeny of a percentage of the population is that?
But
You
it's
know what I'm
already
saying?
legal. That's the thing. Like, what are you fighting for? Like,
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. You can get
if someone's pregnant, you can call yourself transgender or a woman, man. It doesn't matter what you call yourself. You're still able to, have an abortion. So, like, this idea that you're fighting for this right for transgender people. But once again, it makes people think the Democrats are kooky and silly, like saying stuff like
well,
that.
well, even what gets me is they're stretching it out with what they like. It's like you give them a little door open and they want to take a zillion things. So, for example, you say, okay, abortion right now is legal in some places, legal up to 20 weeks, and other places they're even saying third trimester abortion. Now that's not to me abortion. That's killing a baby that's probably viable, and sometimes maybe the baby isn't viable. But come on, the third trimester.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't. I've heard different things about it. I've heard that. I mean, obviously, there should be no trimester abortions for just what do you call it? Pregnancy, not pregnancy. What would you call it? Just to have an abortion for the sake of it, right? I don't. That's ridiculous. We shouldn't be doing that. From what I've heard, and I don't know, I haven't studied this enough. Is that I heard when those cases happen, that it's just so extreme. Usually, it's usually about the baby not being viable, or it's literally going to kill both of them, the mother and the child. But I don't know. But once again, I don't know how that's not like. It seems like that should already be covered in a sense. Maybe it's just a way they make these laws to protect the doctors. Maybe it was always a gray area, but nobody was really pressing charges on it, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Why not just induce the pregnancy if it's something like that? You know what I mean? If it's 6 to 9 months, you've got a possibly viable baby, or
Yeah.
maybe the baby does have problems, but just induce the pregnancy so it's not. You don't have to go in there the way that an abortion works. So I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
I think that's what I don't know, but I think that may be what they do, though. I think that may be
Maybe
like the
that's it.
form,
Yeah.
because I think it may. Let's get off. I don't know. I don't know about that. To be
But
honest.
those
I
are the
shouldn't
kind of
talk.
cases, though, that push
Yeah.
the envelope and make people like me say, "Hey, I don't want to be associated with this party anymore. They're loony."
Yes.
So when I hear stuff like that, and I think, or even the people who are talking about, if you go to different parts of the world and you look at, like, when I was just looking at that map a little while ago of where atheism is in Europe,
Mhm.
and in places like the Netherlands, it's relatively high, and Denmark, it's relatively high, and those are the places that they have a relatively high percentage of people who are committing euthanasia, basically saying, I don't like my life anymore. There was a girl who unfortunately was raped between the ages of something like 5 and 15. completely depressed. So she decides that she's going to go ahead and have her doctor, she could have committed suicide, I guess, but she basically had her doctor kill her because she was really miserable. And I look at that and I think, oh man, I mean, is there nothing else that her family or somebody could have done to help her?
So I agree with you on this case. Like I would say, like certain cases, this shouldn't. Euthanasia is tough because I certainly understand and appreciate why someone may do it that's older, right? Like imagine someone's just in extreme physical pain all the time, right? There are all types of medical conditions where people they're slowly dying and suffering. And I don't have such a problem if you're terminally ill already and you're just suffering, like die with dignity in a sense. Like I don't see the value in like continuing to suffer like that, right? I'm not saying that like if it's an opportunity where there could be a chance you could survive. I'm talking about in terminal issues, where you're just not going to live and your quality of life is awful. And it's also awful for the people around you, right? I'm not saying like they shouldn't, like they can't deal with it, but in a sense though, like watching a loved one die slowly, right? When all you want to do is end their suffering. I think there may be situations where it's okay, but yeah, I think like situations like that, yeah, like we've got to have restrictions on that. You can't just have someone who's a teenager or a young person who's clinically depressed because of traumatic events in their life, and they're like, this isn't worth living to me anymore.
Yeah. See, I couldn't, as a parent, I think to myself, what if something, with my sons all of a sudden, what if one day they're 25 and they decide, hey, I just don't like this life anymore. I want to go. You pray or you just hope or whatever, you do everything you can do to give them a great life. But I just can't imagine as a parent how you deal with that. It'd just be awful.
Oh, it would be terrible. Yeah. I mean, that's the hardest part about being a parent for me is like, especially with this Corona thing, it's God, like, I don't think I've ever been so sad and depressed in my life about anything, to be honest with you. And so scared because people just don't, like we were talking about the masks, they just don't care. Right. And, the thought of my children getting hurt or getting sick, and because and the thing about this is why people got to take this serious. Like when you die of Corona, you die alone in a room, isolated with none of your loved ones. Maybe you'll be fortunate enough to have a window you can communicate through, and then you basically suffocate to death a lot of times because you can't breathe. I read today, luckily though, I guess, well, not luckily. Apparently, though, they'll sedate people when they get to the very end. Like if it gets really bad or really, which I don't know if that's a relief for me, but it's fucking terrible.
Yeah,
my language. Right?
That
was terrifying as far as it goes.
It is. I think of even my situation in a way because my mom developed Lewy body dementia last year when she was diagnosed with it for the first time. Lewy body dementia is like Alzheimer's on steroids. It's like fast forward Alzheimer's, except
oh wow, I've never heard of that.
She hasn't lost the ability to, she remembers us, so it's not exactly like Alzheimer's, but what's going on is her body is just kind of slowing down to the point where she can no longer talk barely, like she can barely string a sentence together. And this has all been going down while this coronavirus has been going on. So we went back and visited them, and we're going to visit them again very soon, but it's just, it's really hard on us because like my brother, he's stuck in Germany and he can't, he was planning to come here in March, but they cut off the flying and he hasn't been able to see my mom like because of all that. I mean, it's
oh God,
it's just sad,
Does she live here in Florida, same area, or are you in a different state?
She's on Southeast Florida. She's on a Boca Raton. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So she's,
I don't know. How is Tampa with Corona right now? Is it rough out there?
Tampa's bad.
Ours has been going a little down.
Tampa's going down. I mean, the problem is, and let's not forget, I mean, the problem is people, here's what was going on about 5 or 6 weeks ago. It's like everybody was not taking it seriously anymore.
Yeah.
And I had friends who lived in South Tampa telling me that people in South Tampa were all going out to eat and they were all sitting outside close to each other and laughing and drinking and all this kind of stuff, not taking it seriously. And then you have the protesters, many not wearing masks, and they're all marching down through Tampa. And so all of a sudden we get these outbreaks. Well, of course, you guys are all not taking it seriously. You're not wearing masks. You're out partying. And so Tampa, where I live, I'm in the boondocks southeast of Tampa, but so actually I think I'm kind of in a good place.
Yeah.
But Tampa itself's pretty bad.
How
about Orlando?
Luckily I'm more like Disney area. So it's like, we don't, all the tourism's kind of dead right now. So it's like, we don't have as many people. But our percentage rates are dropping, luckily. I think what's driving Florida is Miami, is what's happened. Miami's like they're going through the right in Dade County and stuff like that, which has always been the problem. I'm nervous, and what bothers me is our governor, who's like trying to rush to get these kids back into our schools right now. And listen, there's certainly an aspect that it is good for them to be in a school environment and to socialize and to be around other people. I don't know if delaying that 3-4 months would really cause that much psychological damage, to be frank with you. I'll tell you, my kid's living his best life right now. Like, he's just like, I get to stay home and play video games all day and talk with my cousins through Skype. Yeah, let me live that
Yeah, that's
life.
exactly what my kids are doing.
They play
It's like
Fortnite.
they're Discord. I mean, they're in there cracking up all day on with their friends. It's like, oh, I actually want them to go back to school, though. I know that sounds bad. I want them back in school.
I know.
But I want them, but our school, I don't know what what they've decided in yours, but ours has decided, I think they're giving them 3 options. One is just how it was in the spring, which I thought was awful, which is virtual, when they show up at the beginning of the week and they say, here's your homework, it's all due Friday. Or there's virtual running the same time as the class would be running. Now, I'm okay with that if they have to do that.
Yeah,
as long as they're in class 9 to 4, whatever, 9 to 2 or whatever it is.
Yeah, what scares me is, I don't know how comfortable. My daughter, I'm more worried about, to be honest with you. And that's the one. These pre-K kids aren't going to, they're going to have no sense of social or anything. I don't think my son's age is going to be able to do that. That's what scares me more. I would rather just give them a couple more months. Like, I mean, let's just dip this a little bit. I'm worried about the teachers is another thing, is like, our system can't, I mean, think about it. Let's say we have one breakout. One person has corona in a school. You're going to immediately, that classroom is going to be shut down, right? All those people are going to be told to self-isolate. The teacher is going to be gone. Anybody that came in contact with that teacher we don't even have the substitutes to be able to replace all these people. I do miss my kids going to school. I love my free.
I love the kids going to school.
I
I have to go to school. The thing is I'm teaching as you know, I teach in a university. And so what we're doing is on my Tuesday, Thursday classes, we have certain class sizes according to CDC. So like I have a class, say, that normally has 36 seats and I'm allowed to seat 18 in there. And so what we're doing is we're rotating. I'll have half the class meet Tuesday and the other half Thursday, and the other ones not meeting have to watch the lecture online. And
okay.
So I'm trying to, that's what I'm doing for my Tuesday, Thursday, because I actually have to be there. And then we're going to there's another class that I teach on Tuesday nights, but that one is in the biggest classroom in the building, which is 84 seats. And I only have something like 20 students. So I can spread them out over the whole class and not even worry about it.
You know, funny enough, I'll be going back to school here in the fall is what it looks like. I got signed up to go back to college. I'm going to finish my degree. I decided and be a teacher, be a history or political
Really
science.
good for you.
Yeah, I was thinking I was so close to my degree already, and I just, got involved in life with my kids and my job that, I didn't really need a college degree for, but it did well for me. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, to go back and getting in the scholarship and getting into.
What would you teach?
I'm thinking middle school, to be honest with you. I'm thinking like middle
okay.
school or high school, either political science or American history or something along those lines. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. I have a friend who's teaching, that's what she teaches. She teaches political science and American history up at in a Catholic high school down in South Florida. And so
I tell you what, man, I had a college professor who was a conservative, hardcore conservative, but I took every one of his classes I could. He taught a political science class, American history, international politics. I loved him. He was like the best teacher because, first of all, like, he disagreed with me, but he would challenge me. Like, he would make me challenge him during class, and we would have discussions. And he was fair. He's tough. Like, it wasn't easy to pass his class, but he was like, you know what? He's like, but I want you to engage. I want you to challenge what I believe. And man, I'm sorry. I think I've scared everybody else into coming on. I might have scared some of your other guests from coming in to discuss. I don't have the best reputation sometimes.
Yeah, we should probably talk about that, because I have to figure out what's going on with your reputation, because I actually don't really. Wait, hold on. I'm putting the link in here if anybody else wants to join. I think
please join. Come talk to us.
I don't think they're scared. Like, I think I think they would have. I think Rob would have definitely come on. I don't know what happened to him, but I know Australia. What is it? Time in the morning now?
Oh,
7 o'clock.
we're
or
not
something
too
for
friendly,
him?
Rob and I. That's probably more
So,
because I don't think he's afraid of me.
Well,
I don't.
well, that's the. Well, here's the thing. So
Yeah.
you, it was like all these people. I've noticed today. Like, why did Reformed Boy block you?
I don't. Honestly, with him, I don't really. I think. I'm trying to. I didn't call him any names or anything specifically mean. I think he just gets. There comes a point where I drive people crazy. I think that's it, right? I think that I pushed him a little too hard, and I use extreme examples in when I argue, right? I'm not like a lot of people think I'm just trying to be a jerk to them and trying to make someone look bad or something like that, but I find that when I use extreme examples about things, it just gets right to the heart of issues, and I don't have to like go around in circles in a sense. But I don't know. I've been blocked. I'm going to make like one of those in memoriam things, like like is in memoriam. What's the ones on the Oscars?
Well, you have a big. You've got inspiring philosophy. All the big names in the Christian.
Inspiring philosophy.
Like some of the ones with hundreds of thousands of. Mike Winger. Didn't Cameron also block you? Cameron
lasted a long. I'm going to give Cameron credit because I went at Cameron pretty hardcore, and he stuck around. He stayed a long time. Cameron, IP, Mike Winger.
Yeah.
There's
Who
other
else?
ones.
Does Braxton Hunter? Are you on?
No, Braxton still has me. I think. I don't think.
Okay. So Braxton, we're good with Braxton.
No, yeah, I've had a couple things. He won't engage with me too much, but he's a pretty. I'm gonna check him to make sure he hasn't blocked me. I don't think so. No.
So what's your formula for getting blocked?
Get under the skin. Listen, here's the thing, right? Listen, and you and I have had disagreements, and I've upset you about things, and maybe rightfully so, right? In a sense, you're being upset. But I'm being humorous a lot of times. I'm just being entertaining, right? Like genuinely, when you get to know me and you talk to me, like we can have a lot of fun, right? I've told SJ off like private message that I like you as a person, right? Tons of times. I've been like, I think tons of times, but at least if you don't know, I'm telling you now. You actually, funny enough, remind me, and I've never told you this, you remind me of an aunt that passed away a couple of years ago.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. The way you look like her, your religious beliefs are very similar to hers. Your demeanor, there's a lot, right? And I mean that as a compliment.
Thank you. That's very nice.
But you remind me of her, and I don't think that people appreciate you for what you do, right? I think you have a level, I don't want to say trollness, but I'll say you have a level of spunk that I think atheists need to be smarter about and not get so emotional with you about. And I think to kind of connect it back to what you're saying about me is I have that same thing, and it drives people crazy, right? And I think that they're just like, thinking I'm just so mean and an awful person. And I generally like most people. There's only a couple people that I just really don't like that are theists. There's a few. And it's none of those people that have blocked me. They're all fine. I really dislike them. In fact, the person I really don't like doesn't block me. Eric Hernandez. That guy, him and what's his name? Vocab Malone is the other person that I.
Vocab Malone? Oh, I like him.
Oh.
And Eric, actually, I've had Eric on here too. I like Eric. Well, you guys have, you and Eric have some, and I was saying this before you came on, you guys have some back and forth thing going. And welcome, Rob. Rob's here. You didn't scare him off, Skyler.
Oh, good. I didn't think I did. There he is.
No, I was making two.
I told her I didn't scare you off. I was like, Rob's not afraid of me. I don't know. Rob hasn't blocked me. I mean, I've given him all types of crap all the time. He keeps me unblocked.
Skylar, whenever you interact with me, I'm always smiling. And
you are.
Yes. I do. Even though words can come across as like just words on the screen.
Sure.
But I do. I don't have any grudge against you. So.
Yeah. Well, listen. What I was telling SJ is that some of these apologists need to have thicker, in my opinion, need to have thicker skins about what's going on, right? Like you're making, I don't want to say making a living, but you're doing YouTube full time, a lot of them. And if my words or my videos like offend you, just don't watch them. There's no need to block me. What makes me mad is like I took like Inspired Philosophy. I've taken the time to break down some of his videos, and instead of actually responding to me or actually telling me where I'm wrong in my arguments, he just blocks me. And that to me, I don't know. Like, just take the time, have a conversation with me. I don't know. Anyways, let me mute this for a second. My wife's doing stuff.
No, I think it's I think it's funny, and I think and Rob, actually, I have seen you've gone back and forth with Skylar. You also go back and forth even more probably with Dr. Josh. So I've seen
Sure.
I've definitely seen some interactions there, and so, and I have to admit I was tempted to block Skylar a couple of times. In fact, I'm going to have to go ahead and follow him again because I unfollowed him because I was mad at him. So I'm going to go.
But you know what? You never blocked me, and that's the point.
I didn't block you. I was like, so I just followed you again, Skylar. It's like,
I don't know if that's for your good health. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, do you want your stress levels to go up, SJ? Is that what you?
No, I think that's what's funny is when I see interactions between. Now, Rob, would you say politically, are you kind of a centrist, or do you lean to the left or to the right? Which way do you? Because I was noticing what I noticed when I first started this video today is I was looking at the atheist community, and they don't like being called the atheist community, but I was looking at how there's a half that kind of leans to the left, and then there's the right-leaning ones, and they get in these fights sometimes that are really funny to watch.
Yeah, I don't really hold to any position. Who I have been, I guess you could say, that would be the quote unquote conservative perspective, like the whole I'm against abortion, things like that. But then even that in itself has all these layers of grayness. Like, for example, a friend of mine who used to run a study group 2 years ago, but because of what happened, he had to stop that. And that's exactly this, that his wife was going to have triplets, and one of the babies, what do you call it? The sac, like it burst or something. And so so the other babies were fine, but because that happened to that one baby, basically all the other babies could die and she could die as well. And to basically abort all three in order for her to survive. And it's just things like that where you have to allow science to sort of, along with, a certain sense of ethics, to sort of govern what the next choice should be made, and not just senseless killing. That's the thing. So that's sort of what I'm getting at with. In the context, ask me the question, like, where do I stand? So, for example, recently, because I'm in Australia, there's a lot going on in America that people outside America are sort of just looking, literally, we're just out here looking towards you guys, and we're just like, what the heck's going on? And there's,
I think some of us are looking at us.
Yeah, we're like wondering the same thing.
It's called Trump. It's called Donald Trump and the Trump.
I came across I used to watch way back. I used to watch these two twins. They're called the Hodge twins, and then I stopped watching them because it got quite crude. And then recently I just, because of the trending videos on YouTube, I noticed that these guys, they have a channel called Conservative Twins. And so it's just like nostalgia. It's like, oh, it's these guys again. And they are full like Trump 2020. And like, for example, basically I started watching that channel since the George Floyd shooting moving forward. And it's just interesting to see they are the I guess you could say the far right. But I can't seem to disagree with what they're getting at. So basically with the topics that's happened since the George Floyd shooting. So the NASCAR car, for example, the Black Lives Matter thing. Then this recent, that couple with a gun.
Oh yeah, St. Louis.
Yeah. Then there's, I think a guy named Hatem that got shot by a policeman because he took a gun out to shoot him. like all the recent stuff that's been happening, and I can't help but go, these guys have a point. Like, I understand what this thing called Black Lives Matter means, but then if it becomes, if that title is also, if that title also becomes toxic, now you've just shot yourself in the foot. And then you're just giving ammunition to those who say all lives matter. Like that obviously is more important. So yeah, it's, the whole thing is just chaotic, and like it's kind of like, I hate to say this, it's kind of like a dysfunctional family, to be honest. Like the way everything's going on.
Keep in mind, like when you're listening to these right-wing radio, right? These like these the twins and stuff like that. That they're complaining that people are confused by the term Black Lives Matter, right? But they know what Black Lives Matter means. Most people know when people say Black Lives Matter, it's been explained enough here. Like if you're living under a rock, if you don't understand what that term means. Obviously, it doesn't mean, and I'm not saying you don't know this. I'm just saying that obviously it doesn't mean that like all lives don't matter. But what's happened is it's become a conservative thing. Just their reaction is just say all lives matter, because they don't. The truth is a lot of, well, let me say this: if you're racist, you're going to be part of the conservative party. Not all conservatives are racist, but if you're racist, you're going to be most likely a Republican in this country. And the fact that like they distract from everything, they try to find issue with everything except the fact that a black man was murdered in broad daylight in front of people as they're begging the cop to take his knee off the guy's neck, right? They're going to complain that like George Floyd was a bad person. They're going to complain about the rioters burning down buildings. When they seem to forget, why are people so angry? Why are they burning down buildings? Why do they feel like like it's hopeless? And that's because we have a system. Personally, I think race is an aspect of it. What's the problem of our police force? But I think the bigger problem is we don't have well-trained police officers who are better at de-escalating situations. They're better at escalating situations and being aggressive, because the only way they know how to deal with things, most of the time it seems, is through violence. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, that's actually spilled over. So Australia's been doing really well with the COVID situation, where we really flattened the curve very quickly as well. And because of the recent stuff that's been happening, like we're talking within a month or two, I'm on the west side. So on the east side, in Victoria and Melbourne, the corona cases have spiked up again because of the protesting that's been going on. Like people like marching on the streets, and they're told, look, stay inside, don't come out. Nope, they're going to protest, and then bang, like 200, 300 new corona cases just overnight.
Those are rookie numbers, my man.
Oh, well, for in Australian standards, that's huge. No, I know, but for Australia, that's huge, and we've had to shut down those cities again, causing businesses to suffer and so on. Now, I need to ask you.
I just want to really quick show everybody because this is blacklivesmatter.com. I agree that everybody was behind. We hate police brutality. We want people to be treated fairly. We certainly think what happened to George Floyd was downright egregious. It was disgusting that he begged for his life 8 times and the guy ignored him the whole time. And then he finally lost his life. But this particular group has also latched itself onto this cause. And this is the thing that I have a problem with. This part right here where it says, we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other's extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. You notice that they don't mention fathers. And that's where I kind of say, wait a second, now they're discouraging. It sounds like they're discouraging this idea of 2 parents getting married and then having kids. And that's a pretty good deal for kids when you have both parents at home. That's one of my big issues with that group.
I would agree with you, but I just want to put a little caveat, right? I think what most people who are protesting, most people who are on the streets and what they're fighting for isn't necessarily the list of things that are on the Black Lives Matter website. Sure, the official Black Lives Matter organization These are their goals. I don't think those goals necessarily represent the vast majority of the people protesting. I think the vast majority of people protesting are they're upset with police brutality, with our criminal system, and they're tired of seeing unarmed black men executed in the streets. But you're right. I don't agree with that either, SJ. I don't agree with a lot of those things on the Black Lives Matter website. I didn't read them all, but I certainly have no problem with a regular family. I don't even know what that means to abolish the nuclear family. I don't know, what does that even mean?
Like that's well, you have in the black community right now, 65% of the families only have a mother at home raising them. They don't necessarily in some of these communities encourage getting married. And so that's something we have to get back. We want people to get married and to have families that way, because it's economically very difficult for a single mom or a single dad really to raise a family these days. So
no, I agree. It's definitely, but I mean, whether we put the technical, like we actually physically get married, or we just have two parents in the household, really what I think we're talking about is having two parents, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like two parents raising the children. Yeah, exactly. But I get your point.
So that one can maybe work and the other can stay home a little bit more and help the kids.
Exactly. But what I would really like to get more clarification from their movement to understand what that means. Like I can't. Maybe it's true, but it's hard for me to believe that they would just be arguing that we shouldn't have, like, not only like we shouldn't have two parent households, but we should dismantle it. That's the part I don't understand there. I don't know if they're talking more metaphorically, like let's just get rid of typical notions. But I agree with you though. I think it's better to have two people in the household. Very strange.
I'm just wondering, I'm gonna ask Skylar this because I saw a Hodge Twin video 2 days ago on a recent interview that Trump did so a woman asked him about why are black people or black men dying more at the hands of policemen or something. I'm paraphrasing, like, I don't know if it was like a recent interview.
Sure.
And then he said, no, that's wrong. White people die more or something. So one of the twins basically brought up a statistic that Trump is correct because 6% of the population or something is black, and 50%
black male. 6% is black male.
Okay.
Male, yeah.
And 50% of that 6% does all the crimes in America or in the US. Like, again, I'm being very sloppy with the terms because I don't live there. So yeah.
Let me explain a little bit. All right. So this is something I'm actually really interested in. So this is all kind of a game of numbers and what you choose to attribute to the numbers. All right. So let's say that's true. And it may be true that 6% of the black men commit whatever amount of crime. All right. Well, I don't think it's actually true. Let me say it this way. Let's start with a couple of things, right? How many of those black men are in gangs? Right? Why wouldn't we use the word 6% or 6% of all, or most of all murders come from gang violence, right? Why would we use a statistic where we reference color? Because obviously the color of your skin doesn't make you act in a particular way, right? White, black, brown, yellow doesn't make a difference. Your skin color doesn't attribute to your actual behavior, right? Yeah. So what's happening? This is kind of like the murder rates in our country. When they're like, oh, we have these high murder rates. Kind of in particular cities, in particular areas where we have high gang violence. So what these studies do is they focus on the wrong aspect, the blackness aspect, opposed to what's going on. Is it poverty? Is it places where there's high poverty, large gangs that are killing each other? The other aspect of this to think about is all it's talking about is arrest, okay? It doesn't mean that the other race isn't committing the same amount of crime. It just means they're not getting arrested at the same rate. For instance,
or some form of police connection is in that 6%. Oh, I mean 50% of that 6%.
Yeah. Well, the crime. So that's what I'm saying is with the crime rate. Like, okay, I'll give you a fact. Right, white people and black people use marijuana at the same rates, statistically, right? But criminally, black people are like I gotta have to look up the number, but it's like 5 times more likely to be arrested for it. Right. Okay. And the reason being is they're going after poor black neighborhoods where they can easily police them and catch more criminals, right? You're not going to go into a white middle-class neighborhood and start harassing white people with money with lawyers that can fight this stuff and will intimidate the police officers. They're going to go to people who are already underprivileged, that it's easier to catch. And I think that when you do that, if you target a particular area that happens to be black and you don't target the area that happens to be white, well, yeah, you're going to have more arrests in that particular area. But any of these numbers, when they're trying to say as if race makes people commit more crime, that's just silly because color doesn't do that. It's other conditions that will get you to that. It's just same thing like
so obviously
black crime. It's white on white crime is just as high.
Yeah. So obviously this, I mean, I see what you're saying. Like the statistic is basically, it's not flawed, but at the same time, it's not heavily not complete because of all these other variables. Because there's no way, like you can't just go and give a survey to a white middle class and say, look, do you take marijuana?
I have some interesting things to. I want to first say, John Lloyd, thank you. He says, read Parables of Jesus by Christopher Garnold Smith on Amazon Prime. He's almost certain you'll truly enjoy. This for your time. Thank you so much, John. That was very generous. Super chat. I want to give you guys some information that I think you're going to find pretty gross. And this is backing up both points. There's definitely a socioeconomic issue here. But what's really interesting is these different studies that people have done. So here's a couple of studies, and you're not going to like these results. So you have the first study. They have people sent out resumes, identical resumes, except for the names were changed. So on one resume, we've got the first name is Nikisha. On the second resume, the first name is Jamal. On the third resume, the first name is Emily, and the last one is Greg. Okay, so they go out, these names go out. Well, guess what? Statistically significant differences as far as which ones are getting the calls. Emily and Greg were getting all the calls. So then somebody said, well, what if this is not based on the fact that the name sounds like it's an ethnic sounding name? What if it's someone's associating that with socioeconomic status? And so they changed it, and they changed it to looking at last names. And apparently, and I didn't know this, but Washington and Jefferson are apparently very many black people have those last names. And so they sent out these resumes, and they didn't find the differences when the last names were used. But again, I don't know if people knew those last names. But that does show that there is some racist tendencies here in the United States, but it's more maybe even towards socioeconomic status and a thought on that. I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
So you see the next question that's going through my mind, and again, Skylar, I'll ask you this question. Yes, I mean, let's, for the benefit of the doubt, that the statisticians, or just the math itself, obviously, that it's not biased, so it's not trying to bring out like black is associated with crime and white not, sort of thing, right? It's just that statistic. Look, like let's go along with that figure. 50% of that 6% commit the crimes. So my question is, why are black people or people in that statistic, why are they doing the majority of the crimes? And I guess you'd say it's because of that, because of the circumstances that they're in, they can't help it.
Remember what I said, they're not necessarily committing more crimes, they're just being targeted at higher rates than the other races, right? The drug example I gave, whites and blacks use marijuana at the same rate, but black rates of arrest are much higher than whites on the crime of smoking marijuana or having marijuana on you. So that's what I'm saying. The problem is it's creating a false narrative. It's saying that black people commit all the crime, but what is it about blackness? Well, one thing is nothing about being black makes you get more crime.
Yeah. It's not that. It's more. Is there a high statistic of black people, regardless of the other variables that we sort of miss out on, right? Like this marijuana example you're giving. Sure. Is there a higher statistic of black people that do more crime than the white? Well, like you say if we were to remove all those other variables.
So I want to ask. Let me just add something really quickly. It's 6% of the population, essentially looking at black men, is committing 53% of the violent crimes. That's actually the statistic. Not that 50% of the 6%. It's actually 6%, 53%. But to back up what I think what Skylar's saying here, that has some of this as well, is the sentencing and things are different for black people. Like, for example, why is it that crack cocaine has a higher sentence than regular cocaine? And it just happens to be that more black people are using crack and more white people are using regular cocaine. But the sentencing for two things that are pretty much the same, just different forms. So why is that? Why is the sentencing harsher for black people on average for the same crimes? Because that's out there too. And so there's
okay. I think my question is not clear. So let's pretend you have 100 white and 100 black. Okay. Now, you throw them into a mixed room or something. I don't know. Or you could isolate the two, either way. And then you come back a year later and you come and gauge and you ask them, you give them like a drug so they tell the truth or something. Okay, which of you committed the most quote unquote crime? The crime here is a huge variance because it could be really petty versus very serious. From what I'm understanding from the statistical data is let's take the 53% figure then. So 53% of the black are doing the crime, which means
it's the crimes. 53% of the crimes themselves are committed by 6% of the population, or a group that represents 6% of the population within that 6%.
Oh, I see. Okay. But that's a huge stat. Isn't that a huge statistic?
But this is what I was talking about earlier, though. You got to pay. So it's all about what you measure. I bet you if we were to measure those same murders, that 90% of them would be gang related. So, like, what would be better for us to measure? That it's black people committing crime, or we have a gang problem with crime?
I think you're right. There's definitely a gang issue and the inner city issue. That's a major portion. That's where all the crime is getting committed.
Chicago, like places like Chicago, it's one of the worst places in our country right now. The south side of Chicago, places like LA, Detroit, things like that. And that's what the issue is. It's not an issue because once again, I imagine you agree with me. Your race doesn't make you commit more crime, and also
no, it doesn't.
Something to look at also is what kind of crimes are we talking about, right? Now, we were specifically talking about violent crime there. That's why I'm referencing gangs. That's more likely referencing gangs. But like, okay, for instance, it's more likely that a white older man is going to be arrested for child molestation, right? They're more likely than an older black person or a young black person to commit that crime. Now, what if it's a situation where I don't even get into details. I'm just saying that there are other situations why economically people would get into different businesses, whether it be the drug business, if they don't feel there's any hope. But what really comes up next, in my opinion, is why are we throwing people in prison anyways for drugs anyways, right? If it's a problem with health, this should be a health issue. I understand people who sell drugs, depending on the drug, you sell crack cocaine, heroin. I'm not for you being on the streets. But at the same time, a lot of people are just busted for having it, right? You throw a heroin addict in jail for a medical problem they have, an addiction that they need medical help with. Yet we punish them criminally, and then we have to pay through our tax dollars, which probably costs more than it would just to get the health for them.
Yeah, this is where it gets very granular with all these other examples,
And keep in mind, Rob, that's the thing is this. I hate conservative radio. Like there are really thoughtful conservatives that are well thought in their positions and are what I would call old school.
I'm curious to know who you would consider that.
Well, William F. Buckley, like classic William F. Buckley, or even someone like Thomas Sowell, is another conservative.
Yeah, he's.
There are Republicans I have a lot of respect for, but like this new Trumplican, someone came that term earlier, I love it. But this new Republican Party is not the same party it was even 10 years ago under Bush, not 10 years ago, 10 years ago under Bush. So yeah, I think there's a lot of manipulation. I think that Trump is purposely dividing us. I can't view it any other way because This guy had such a great opportunity to be. Oh no, Reason, you're not going to do this to me. Oh Lord, oh you know. I just see the name.
Hey, G-Man.
Hey, G-Man, it's been a while. I haven't seen you.
How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
It's going.
I'm Skylar, and I just had to come in here.
Oh boy. Oh, listen, I'll just
I'm muted.
Trumplicans.
I can continue with your conversation.
I would just say that the Trumplicans, these new Trump supporters, are not the same conservatives that they used to be. They're not small government. I mean, they're literally at this point, we're sending unmarked police cars into cities with rental cars, and we're capturing people and throwing them in vans right now. So it's pretty scary. Have you seen any of that SJ stuff going on in Portland?
No, I've seen some of that. Yes, it's very. I mean, some of the things that scare me is when we demoralize the cops. I mean, I do think there are definitely some bad cops out there, and we definitely had. But when we basically say that they're all pretty bad and they're all pigs or whatever they call them, then suddenly we have a little bit of an issue. I mean, then you have a lot of them retiring early and feeling bad about their jobs, and there are some good ones out there. So that's my fear.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Please go ahead.
You mentioned Trump, so I'm just wondering. I hope this doesn't derail the conversation, but has Trump done any good? Like, could you list good along with the bad?
G-Man likes Trump.
Huh?
Oh, he just.
Yeah, I think Trump's okay.
He did do some kind of animal rights protection bill. I'll give him credit on that.
So you'd say that he hasn't done anything good?
No, not much. No. Not much. As far as like all of his major policies, the tax cuts, the getting out of our the climate accords, the Paris Climate Accords, dropping the World Health Organization, sending secret police onto the streets. I mean, this guy, there's a list. I literally forget all the things that he's done until I go back. He destroyed our solar industry with the tariffs.
Have the the thoughtful
president we've ever had, where he just said it like it is.
I wish he did.
I like Trump, but don't get me wrong. I'm not like a Republican or nothing like that, and I'm not a Democrat. You know, I just lean towards the right.
There were things that when Trump came out, I thought like he had things about trying to get term limits put in for Congress and different things. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. But like every time he does something, he does like the worst version of it. Like he's tried to put judges in place that aren't qualified to be judges. I mean, even the Republicans at some point were like, no, you can't do this. Like you can't do this.
So even the thoughtful conservatives were having
some of them
issues.
Why aren't they qualified to be judges? Why aren't they qualified to be judges?
You could go do a whole study on this, G-Man. The reason there's many reasons. First, they're just not. For some of them weren't even judges. Was one thing. They weren't even actual judges. They had no experience in the actual environment that he was putting them into. That would be one good, but it's far more detailed.
Wait a minute. So you're saying that if somebody's put in a political position and they have no experience, then they shouldn't be in that position, then, right? Tell me something. How many times you think in our history that somebody has gotten political power and had no experience in politics whatsoever?
It's not. We're talking about the judicial system, judges, not political office.
No, I understand that. But still, they got to start from somewhere, right?
Yeah, but you would start lower. You'd be a lawyer and then become a judge.
Throughout history, has gotten political power and didn't have any experience with it.
Yeah, but that's not how judges work in that situation. Like, it might be other political positions that might work. That'd be fine. But that's not really how you would put somebody in a judge position for it. Like, you would want a lot of study. You would want a long career of knowing the law because it's such an important and complicated job. I mean, listen,
my dad always said that the federal judge has so much power. Amazing amount of power.
I mean, and this is conservatives stepped up. There were Republicans that actually stepped up against him, was like, no, you can't do this. These people are obviously not qualified for these positions. So, I mean, that's one aspect. But, I mean, Rob, to be frank, no. There's nothing this man I can think. I think he's actually divided this country further than I've ever seen it.
So then, what about that Twitter ban that video? But he's sort of, it's like kind of like a show reel of all the good he's done. Like, you know, that video Trump made.
Yeah, he makes. You know what he? I don't get what
I think they're using Linkin Park music or something for that.
Yeah, and then he had to take it down. He did the same exact thing at Mount Rushmore where he used some music from Neil Young and he didn't get permission and he had to take some of that down. Or Neil Young protested. I don't know why his campaign managers aren't getting permission first for these. I mean, why don't they go to somebody like Toby Keith if they want to find people who lean to the right and love him? Go to that guy's music.
The problem is they're not ethical at all. I mean, let's just be real. Like this administration has more I think he had more indictments than Nixon. I might be wrong on that. It's either close or more indictments than Nixon. Compared to Obama had 0, by the way. 0 indictments during his administration. But yeah, I mean, the guy, listen, the guy, I don't know how this is what I don't understand from people who are self-proclaimed Christians. Like how anybody would think this man's a good Christian man, right? Like for instance,
I don't think anybody thinks he's like a really good Christian. Obviously, he's cheated on his wives. He's done all this kind of stuff. He's not exactly the poster child for Jesus. You know, he does a lot of. But the thing is, I think a lot of people are single issue voters and they really care about abortion. And so they're voting for him with the hopes that somehow he's going to be able to repeal Roe versus Wade or have something to do with that.
That's a fair point. I think that's fair. Listen,
don't forget, he did appeal to, I mean, putting all his personal things aside, he did appeal to a large majority of a type of eschatological Christian group, so the dispensationalists and so on, when he made Jerusalem the capital and like especially all the Middle Eastern things that he did. And
that's huge.
Well, I mean, keep this in mind. I watched a video the other day. I did a video about this where literally the Trump administration's lawyers were arguing that kids that were locked up in cages, separated from their parents at the border, didn't require soap or toothpaste to say safe and sanitary. Literally, Trump lawyers arguing that they shouldn't have to give kids soap and toothpaste.
And that's just disgusting. But you know what? Those kids a lot of them, they were still being locked up under Obama too. We have to figure out what's going on at our borders.
You see what's going through my mind is.
So let me ask you a question, Skylar. So let me ask Skylar and the other guy a question real quick regarding the borders. Do you believe that anybody should be able to come to this country without having to go through a process like having a visa or anything like that?
No, and most people don't.
Okay, so what do you disagree with Trump regarding his foreign policy regarding people actually coming here illegally and staying here illegally?
Absolutely. Let me tell you, what I disagree with him on is that he created a policy where he separated children from parents, locked them up in cages, and then had his lawyers argued that they didn't even have to give them soap or toothpaste in order for them to be safe and sanitary. And they keep the lights on. And then we're talking
like nothing to do with what I asked you.
10 years old. Now, Obama, to give you to just on the other side of it, right? Obama far more people.
I asked you,
lock kids in cages.
I asked you, what problem did you have with Trump as far as him allowing illegals into this country and letting them stay? And you're talking about toothpaste and our children are being treated. I asked you about
I thought you said
how
policy.
do you feel about the borders?
I thought you said policy. You said what Trump policy, didn't you?
No, I didn't say anything about a policy. Like,
okay, so ask that question again, G-Man, so I can answer it directly.
What do you have against? Okay, so what do you have against Donald Trump's the laws that he's making regarding people coming over here and staying here illegally? Like, how do you feel about that?
He hasn't made any law. What are you talking about?
Do you think that people should go through the visa process? Illegals should come here
I
and
already
stay here?
I already told you that. I already told you that we should have a process of legal immigration and not open borders. It's the first thing you asked me. I think G-Man. The problem is not keeping up. It's hard for G-Man to keep up with the conversation sometimes.
No, I think it's just because he's on a cell phone. It might not be
lagging.
The connection is.
Yeah, I'm on my cell phone. But the reason why I'm asking this question because a lot of people don't like Trump for that reason. They don't like the fact that he wants people to come here properly while filling out papers and going through the process, and not just coming here illegally and staying here and then thinking they don't got to go through the process like everybody else. That's why that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like him. And I wanted Skylar's opinion on this.
Yeah, I think the real reason a lot of people don't like him is because he locks children up in cages and separates them from his parents. Like I said, the Democrats in the last administration deported far more Mexicans and illegal immigrants than the Bush administration before them. I think he's actually deported more people than Trump has so far. So I'm not necessarily against having a secure border where we have a process of legal immigration and we send people home. What I'm against is Trump's taking children, separating them from their parents, locking them in cages, and not providing toothpaste and soap.
Now what? But
you would agree with me, right? Like everyone agrees we shouldn't lock kids in cages, right? I'm not crazy. I just want to make sure.
I'm being very specific about what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about children and toothpaste.
Yeah, I know. I answered your question.
You don't want to deal with the actual issue. You know?
I don't. Hold on. Did you guys think I deflected on that question? I thought I was really thorough in answering that question about what I thought about border security, what I think about immigration. It's, SJ, I might leave here in a second. I can't, it's too hard to deal with G-Man. He just smiles and grins and acts like an asshole like this. It's frustrating.
No, Skylar, here's the issue though with immigration. One of my biggest challenges that I've been facing in our school is that about 20% of our students are international, and the vast majority find it impossible to get a job here, to get a visa secured. Even if they get the job, Trump's administration hasn't renewed their visas, and so that's made it a real challenge. Some of our all-stars who had straight A's through undergrad and MBA students are being shipped back. Like one of my good friends now is in Sweden because she couldn't get. She was my graduate assistant. She got a job here. Her visa was secured. Everything's good. But then it came around for renewal time, and Trump's administration decided not to renew it. And to me, that's a brain drain. We're losing some really good minds that we educated.
Can I just tell Brother John says he hasn't seen any kids in cages? Well, I don't know if you've looked then, because this is an actual policy and there's video of it. You can actually see video of it. I mean, these are kids under 10 years old. They have reports of like 8 and 9-year-olds having to take care of 4-year-olds that are separated from their parents. So, John, just look, do a little study onto this and you can find it. Don't act like it doesn't exist because you haven't seen it.
So Skylar, what was Trump's rationale for doing that and separating from parents and like what? I mean,
good question.
I know I wouldn't. No one would do that, whether you're left or right. So it seems. I mean, I'm just saying, for the sake of argument, it seems like a very generalized statement. But at the same time, if that is exactly what happened, then what the heck's going on? Like,
here's what, from that perspective, here's what they think. They think that it's kind of a scam, that people over in, say, Mexico are purposely sending these kids over the borders just to get them in here, and parents are willing to risk their kids, even they're willing to risk their kids' lives, essentially pushing them over the border to get here. And so Trump's administration thinks that it's sort of a game that they're playing. And so that's how they're arguing on the other side.
And then
but that's part of it. Hold on. One more second. I'm going to say one more thing, Rob. That's part of it too. That's what they're arguing, the Trump administration. But what it is, it's a way of deterring people from coming into the country. Because if you put fear in people saying, hey, we'll separate you from your children when you get here, and it happens for months. We still have kids that haven't been connected back with their parents. We've had over 7 children die in custody already on the border. So what they're doing is it's a tactic to scare people from coming across the border, saying we'll take away your children and separate them from you. Because technically we can do, political immunity, like when you're escaping a hostile country or something like that. And they don't want people to apply for that because that's a legal way from the beginning, because conservatives are completely anti-immigration. Anyway, go ahead, Rob.
Okay, so then, but why? Like, wouldn't you mean is there a racial reason, like a racist reason as to don't?
I think that
what's the situation going down?
I think there are a lot of people who, the Mexicans get a bad rap in this country, and there are a lot of people who aren't big fans of them, especially in the South. I don't even understand it, because
I don't understand that at all. There's some of the hardest working people I've ever met. I mean, they're the ones who are up on the roofs. They put tile. Some of them are the ones who are taking these jobs that not everybody wants to take. Absolutely. Who's out on the strawberry farms? Backbreaking.
Oh, I see what's going on here. Okay. To give you so basically it's sort of the similar situation here in Australia, where you have the native like the Aborigine. But the only difference is there is no like the Mexicans are there and the Americans are there. It's imagine the Mexicans and the Americans like already in the same room. It's just that within that room. So this is the situation here in Australia. Within that room, there's this stigma against the Aborigine. Like, for example, just the other night, finally we were able to go out, like say 9 p.m. plus on a Friday night. You could go out, have a drink, things like that. Just the first night out, already there were like, like a racial sort of stigma, like, oh, see, there's the Aborigine, like at the side of the road. And then you have the non-Aborigines. And even then there's a huge range. There's Asians, there's Australians, there's Europeans, all nicely, dressed for the night. But my heart broke just saying, look, why don't you include the Aborigine in your circle, in your discussions, in your drinks? But then, you see, this is where it's a very great thing, because I know, and I'm speaking here, who would welcome an Aborigine, and I have, for a drink, but they will abuse your friendliness, because all they care about is getting drunk and getting as much money as possible to buy smokes and so on. What I'm saying is, the majority don't seem to want to integrate anyway into a mature sort of cultured society, which is very sad. But yeah, we're having the same thing here in Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, listen, people pretend. I'll straight up say Donald Trump is a racist. Some people won't go that far. I think it's obvious. Something you may, I don't know if you're aware of this, Rob, is that in 1979, might have been 78, Trump was sued by the federal government because his apartment buildings that he managed weren't renting to black people. And they actually did an internal investigation to where they were sending undercover people into the apartment to see if they could rent. And of course, whenever a black person went in, they just said we didn't have anything available. Fast forward, right? There are people that have been on The Celebrity Apprentice, like Tom Arnold, that claim that he's used the N-word in front of them. There's no audio of it. Donald Trump's father was arrested for riding with the KKK.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, dude, there's a whole history of race.
I didn't know either of those, actually.
Oh, yeah. The case is really interesting from the 70s when you see that, like, they literally, sued him because he wasn't renting to black people. And there's all. I mean, look. When you looked at Charlotte, right? Like, I know people make always. Oh, he said there are people on both sides that are good people, right? That was messed up. But that's not.
I want to respond to that when
my concern was more. More of my concern was the idea that all of these neo-Nazis, these white supremacists, were dressed like Donald Trump, wearing khakis, white polo, and "Make America Great" hats again. That's the aspect that should scare America. But anyways, go ahead, Gene.
But I'm just wondering, are they, just for the sake of
please,
being sort of putting the benefit of the doubt sort of thing, like, say if Trump is not that, but these neo-Nazis are giving him a bad name by doing that, and so it's just it's like it just adds another layer of confusion and chaos to this whole discussion.
Well, and he's pretended like they have pictures of him with like KKK members, like one of the head of KKK, and he pretended like he didn't know who the guy was. Like this guy has a whole history of it. And listen,
I'd like to respond to what he said about Trump being a racist.
Yeah, what do you think about that, G-Man?
Yeah.
I totally disagree with that. I know that Donald Trump has properties over there in Jersey City, and he has properties obviously over there in New York, and he has employees that are black. He has people that are black that are staying in his that are staying on his properties as tenants. You know what I mean? So if he was racist, he wouldn't have any of them. As a matter of fact, he wouldn't have the numbers of them, living on the properties or owning apartments or having them on the staff whatsoever. A racist isn't going to hire anybody that's not of his ethnicity. You know what I mean? So that's an opinion of Skylar, but I disagree with that for those reasons.
What did you think about him being sued in 1979 for not renting to black people?
Well, that can be argued two ways. Yes, you can argue that he might have been a little prejudiced, but you can also argue that he was being a true businessman. Maybe back in 1979, black people couldn't afford the properties. I don't know. I would have to actually look at the numbers. So again, I'm just hearing this for the first time, but because I know he has black employees and he has black tenants and he has people that has bought properties from him that are black, you know what I mean? You can't automatically say because of that incident that automatically makes him racist.
Well, I would say you're racist if you do a federal investigation and they send black people in to rent rooms in your apartment building. And then every time a black person goes in, they say there's no rooms available. But when white people go in, there are apartments for rent. They actually did a whole sting on this, basically. I don't know why it's so out there to think that just because a person hires black people doesn't mean they can't be racist. I've known lots of racist people that had black people working for them. They probably fucking took pleasure in it.
But it doesn't mean that they're racist, though. That's
well,
the point.
But what makes them
racist? You're saying that he's racist because he went and make apartments available to black people back in 1979, where a lot of people wasn't doing that during that particular time. But that didn't automatically make them racist. You know what I mean? So
wait a minute, but that was the intent.
Hold on a minute. I'm talking about this as a black man, okay? Hold on a minute. If he's selling apartments and properties to black people, if he's employing them, if he's giving them gainful opportunity to make six figures working with him, that doesn't automatically make him a racist. That means that he's trying to help. Now, there is a slight possibility that he could have leaned that way back in 1979. We're in 2020. People change. So again, you can't automatically say because of what he did all the way back then that makes him racist. Because I can look at you, and then I can say when you was 5 years old or 10 years old that you preferred somebody of your ethnicity over a black person. And I know who you're married to, and I know about your children and all that and whatnot. So don't get me wrong. I'm just saying as a hypothetical that what if you link that way? Should we think that you're a racist today because of what you did 20 years ago? Come on.
No, I think that's a fair point, what you're saying to a certain degree. But but I haven't seen anything that he's done to calm racism. What would it have hurt him to come out and strongly condemn what happened with George Floyd and to bend the knee, to take the knee with black protesters? What would it have hurt him? No, what he's chosen to do is to put police forces
Black Lives Matter, and I don't agree with Black
in
Lives
many
Matter,
situations. Violently.
You sure you want to talk about this? Because I don't agree with Black Lives Matter. So
smoke
I believe that gets them up. No, I'm just saying I don't agree with Black Lives Matter because I believe it's just a Trojan horse to introduce some other stuff in our society that I'm never going to support it. Me and Beckles talked about this the last time I was on Ash's channel, but I don't know why he didn't come out and strongly say anything about it. I don't know. But I do know this. What has been done is good. You know? I just think they're going overboard with Black Lives Matter.
Like what? What has he done for black people?
Well, Donald Trump? Yeah. He's not just the president of white people, Skylar Fiction. He's the president for black people.
He's good stuff for black people. I want to know what he's done for black people.
Hold on a minute, Skylar. He's the president for everybody, all right? And the economy is doing well while he's been in office. Now COVID-19 has changed some things, but the economy prior to COVID was doing really well because of him. So
what bills
I'm not really understanding how you're coming to the conclusion how this guy's like this terrible president that ain't doing nothing good.
Well, I mean, G-Man, what economic bills did he pass?
How come Obama didn't go to South Korea? How come Obama or any of these other presidents didn't decide to go to this communist nation like Donald Trump did?
Because they didn't want to get played like Donald Trump just got played. We got nothing out of it. We literally embarrassed ourselves on the world stage, and we basically got nothing. I can't hear you, man, when you're talking because I can barely hear you now. But the thing is, we got nothing. There was no bill. There was no peace treaty. There was no nothing. In fact, they actually kept nuclear testing. So, but my question is what bills has he passed that help? It doesn't have to be just the black community, but you're the one who brought up it helped black people. So I was just referencing what you said. What economic packages has he passed that have helped black people or any people? Or the economy?
Wait a minute. Going back on Kim Jong-il, all right? And by the way, there's a lot of black people that support Donald Trump because Donald Trump is doing plenty for us. Again, with a good economy. That's number one. Number two, he's helping the church because he's making sure that we have religious freedom, that we continue to have religious freedom in this country. Something that I know a lot of atheists don't like. And
what did you say about South Korea?
Regarding wait a minute, I'm almost
I didn't hear you.
Regarding Kim
North Korea.
him actually,
North Korea?
him
I
actually
really can't
dealing
hear.
with him the way he did. Just hear me out. Him dealing with Kim Jong-il. Okay, I'm trying to like finish. Hold on. So, regarding Kim Jong-il, you know what I mean? Starting dialogue with him is the beginning of us having good relations with each other. The very fact that he even came over, that he actually came over here shows that we're making an effort to try to have peace with that country. So I'm not understanding like why you believe that nothing good has come from that. In order for change to happen, you got to be able to talk to each other.
Yeah, we've been communicating with North Korea for hundreds. Not hundreds of years. We've been communicating with North Korea for multiple presidencies, and every time a president makes any promise to North Korea, they don't follow their promises. Everyone, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter.
How many times have they been on American soil, or we have been on their soil? How many times?
That doesn't. Being on their soil doesn't make a difference. Just stepping
how many times have we been on their soil, or they've been on our soil?
How many times, G-Man? Tell me.
No, I'm telling you. No, I'm asking you. I believe
know
Donald
the
Trump
answer
was the
to it,
first
or
one to
you just
actually do it,
asking
if I'm not
because you want to
mistaken.
know?
Donald Trump was the first one to actually do it, if I'm not mistaken. And the fact of the matter, and the fact that
And it did nothing.
to do that.
It didn't work out.
Let me finish.
You talked over me.
The very fact that they're able to have a dialogue shows that they're trying to work out their
We already had a dialogue.
All right.
We already had communication. We act like we haven't had pacts.
But we had it in person, though. What did
being a person doesn't help anything. Just being a person in that situation. Anyway,
what did
Rob, you were
Obama do during this time?
Well, let's just go to a different topic, because this is going to end up being some fighting.
I just want to ask. I think one more question.
Please.
It's like a needle in my brain. So G-Man is a black man, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I mentioned the conservative twins, the Hodge twins, they're black. Now, when you see the ratings, like the views and the like to dislike ratio on all those videos, they're like 50,000 likes to like 500 dislikes. And apparently, a lot of people with color or off color, and in this case, mostly black, really support and agree with what the Hodge twins are saying. And in this case, I wouldn't be surprised if they would agree with what G-Man's saying, or if
this is a very small percentage. No, I think it's like less than 10% of the black population approves of Trump's and his policies.
So that's what I'm getting at. Like,
yeah,
when you're talking about blacks, like how they perceive Trump, do a majority like Trump or not?
I think you guys come to the conclusion that there's only 10% of us that trust him.
Well, just like
you guys come to the conclusion that only 10% of us support him.
Yeah, it's called polling, like any other kind of polling we do in our communities. How we can poll for president.
The polling is lying because a lot of us who are black happen to be Christians, and we are supporting Donald Trump for the same reasons that I just got finished talking about. So I don't know what you thought. I don't know what you mean by that. It's more than 10% of us. I can assure you of that.
Just do some research on statistics and data.
He'll win again because of that too, by the way. He'll win the second time because of that too. Biden ain't going to win, that's for sure.
Hey, G-Man, are you familiar with the Hodge twins?
The Hodge twins, no, who are they?
Yeah, I'm not either. Robert was just saying they're a conservative couple of twins who are black men, and so they have a conservative channel.
They're like 2 million, 3 million subscribers, and
wow.
Yeah. The main thing is, Rob, it is
a strong Trump supporter too.
If you want just to look for yourself, Rob, you can just look at the data. But traditionally, blacks tend to support the Democratic Party. They don't typically vote for Republicans.
Actually, I like to respond to that one too. That's because we was programmed to support the Democratic Party. That's why. And Vaco did a very good job of explaining that the last time he was on here too.
Okay. But I'm just saying
we were programmed to support the Democratic Party. We were tricked into supporting the Democratic Party. But a lot of us are starting to wake up and understand that a lot of the things that the Democrats stand for, we don't stand for.
Let's just say that I'm tucked away at the bottom of the earth because I'm right next to Antarctica and Perth. So.
No, that's good. Well, listen, guys, I think we should probably maybe get to wrapping up. But I like having all of you on. I think this has been an adventure, and I surprised Skylar and Rob when I brought G-Man on because I didn't say anything. I just slipped the entry, and I thought that was funny because we all had a good time. We all have different views, but we can all get along, can't we?
Oh yeah, I can.
Sometimes.
So, and the funny thing is that both Skylar and G-Man both have a history with each other. I think. Don't you guys go back like years?
Way back. Way back when G-Man's channel was popular. It was a long time ago.
He's still got a popular
my channel is still popular.
Yeah, you call 300 views of video popular. Good luck. Good luck with
That's
that.
like my viewage.
Like, but you ain't been around 10 years. That's
to respond to what's going on with my YouTube channel, all that is by design. I am not advertising my channel, and I am not allowing certain people to watch it because I've age restricted a lot of my videos on purpose. Skylar doesn't know what he's talking about again.
It stops somebody from watching your videos.
You guys are so funny. It's just so funny.
Oh man!
My God.
I uploaded the word video, and that video almost got 600 views in 2 days. I don't know what you're talking about.
Which you said 600? Oh, 600.
He's got
views
two
in 2
channels.
days.
G-Man has two channels. He's
matter
got
of
one
fact,
with like 12,000 subscribers.
If you look at the best videos on my channel, if you actually look at the best video on my YouTube channel and go look at the best video on Skylar's channel, you'll see who knows what they're talking about and who they don't.
What's your top video?
Video on my channel that's
We're gonna
pushing
dick
200,000
Yeah, what is your best
views,
video?
and Skylar's best video is pushing 20,000 views. So stop it, Skylar.
No, my highest
And
video
that's
is
recent.
144,000 views actually. What's yours?
Really?
Mine's
What was that
pushing
one on?
200,000. So what's your point?
It
Is that
was that
a
was on
subtle-
the Now conversation, the one I got.
Mine's on the Hebrew Israelite.
Oh, Matt Powell, yeah. Yours on Hebrew is like, Rob, what's your best video?
My personal video would be my debate with Aaron Ra. I think that's the one that's up in the 30,000-40,000 range. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not to mention, I also didn't mention that I have more than one video that did that well. So again, Skylar, stop saying that my channel ain't popular anymore. It's very popular.
I mean, you haven't broke over 600 views in like, I don't know, a month? On a video?
I got a Hebrew Israelite video that just did that. I don't know what you're talking about. And again, I'm not
I got
advertising the channel.
591.
I'm not advertising
Guys are
the
too
channel.
much.
I'm not talking about
587.
atheism.
No, it's a month since you've had
I
broken
have
600. In fact,
again, Skylar.
on
Skylar,
G-Man's
Skylar,
birthday
Skylar,
stream,
I
you
have
got
more views
700.
this year. Skylar, I have more views this year than you have on your channel in the last 3 years. Stop it, dude. Seriously.
I don't think you do. I don't think you do actually.
You guys are so funny. Here, listen. I
think
know
he's
I've got
still
links to
talking because of my
Rob's and
subjective,
G-Man's
objective opinion on it.
channels in the description, but I'm going to put a link to Skylar's channel too. So you guys, before we close out, did you guys want to let anybody know what your projects are, what you're working on next, or what next video you're going to be making?
Sure, I
Trying to
got
make the
one.
world a better place.
Yeah, sure. I got a G podcast coming up, a very special one coming up on Monday. This coming Monday, coming next week. And we're going to be talking about secular religions again, and atheism is going to be the topic. I'm trying to get you on there. I got Vessel coming on, and we're just going to be talking about that for 3 hours and debunking the ever-living daylight side of it. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
That sounds good. That sounds good. I don't know if I could do 3 hours, but I can definitely come on for a little while there.
It's too much.
So.
20 or 30 minutes of work. Don't worry.
So what about you, Skylar or Rob? What are you guys working on?
Not
Go
much.
for
Politics. Trying to focus more on politics instead of religion as much. I don't know if people are such a fan of that as much, but that's what I'm doing. Nothing too exciting.
Well, this is a good time of year to be
Um,
focusing on politics. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with politics though, because YouTube is shutting people's streams down if you say too many of the wrong words during those streams. So
yeah, that's
it's
true.
dangerous talking about politics. So don't take your channel down over that.
Oh, okay. I'm going to be releasing I'm going to continue making the commentary series on Revelation and Ephesians, and that's going to be my project until whatever else happens. I just released a new Daniel video on Darius the Mede. So
Are you a Christian?
Yes, he is.
Okay, cool. What's your
of
name?
course I'm a Christian,
you-
G-man. You know. You remember me, G-man.
No, I can't tell. I'm on my phone. So what's your
Sentinel
username?
Apologetics.
I'm on my phone. What's your username?
It's General Han Solo, remember?
You know what? I wish you would have told me General Han Solo wasn't here, SJ. Oh, Lord. Anyway, I'll explain that some other day why that's such an issue. General Han Solo, email me one day, all right?
General.
Yeah, it's me.
General Han Solo?
Sorry?
General Han Solo, have you changed? Have you changed at all?
What do you mean by that?
You know what I mean. Me and you had some beef not that long ago. Did you change at all? Like I remember when you was accusing me of not being a Christian, the whole Fiona debacle that went on and everything. Me and you had some beef.
No, I at the time I had issue with the way you would utilize the biblical scriptures in light of the atheist community. So just to give SJ a little bit of context, like back when Google Hangouts was going on, and Skylar was part of that, like the great debate community. I was a Christian voice in that community, and I just had this is between me and G-Man. So I had some issue with the way G-Man was engaging the community. So we had like, it literally came to a head where we had a debate where I was going out of my way in saying that G-Man's not a Christian. But in reflecting on that, I do think that was a bit too harsh of a judgment, and I shouldn't, basically I should not judge the salvation of an individual or something. But I have been prayerful, G-Man. I have been prayerful that I hope that you've been more thoughtful in your engagement. And to be honest, this stream has actually given me that perspective that you've come onto the stream quite
Your
mature.
prayers have been answered, Rob.
Yeah. So
Maybe I doubt it. I think this might be a.
Now Skylar's going to have to believe in God after that.
If G-Man actually started behaving himself, I might actually view that as a miracle. I might actually agree with you. I might become a believer. I'll believe it when I see G-Man.
General Han Solo, I will address you some other day. I'm not going to do it today because I got to watch this from the beginning to end. By the way, I'm not used to seeing your face, by the way, either. I'm used to seeing your icon.
Wait, so you've never seen my face before?
Nope, this is my first time. I did not know who we were.
I've been showing my face even back in the great debate community, like even.
I mean, your voice sounded familiar, but I didn't recognize you.
Wow. Okay.
Is this one big happy family?
Yeah. G-Man didn't like me utilizing, say, evolution in light of, say, the creation stories.
You don't know the half of it. It's just evolution. It's Gnosticism and a whole bunch of other stuff. But we'll talk about that some other day, all right? Yeah. You probably don't really know that stuff no more, so it's all right. So.
God bless us.
Anyway, I'm stopping.
Well, listen, everybody, I'm going to also at 4:00 on Wednesday Eastern. If you guys want to come back on here, I'm going to, I'm going to be on here just lady apologists on Wednesday. We're going to do that. But then I'm going to have you guys, if you guys want to come back on here again next week, we'll do another free for all. Trying to do these at least once a week. So it's always open to people to come on in. I'm willing to entertain the lions in the lion's den. So come on in. And I'd actually love to see a debate between, say, Rob and Dr. Josh on the book of Daniel. So I just have to throw that out there in this.
I would love to talk to Dr. Josh on slavery in the Bible. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen.
If he gets time. If he doesn't have time, then it'll never happen.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. I'll ask him not to do it based on your behavior in my last debate where you just talked shit about me for 2 hours. So because you acted like that, I'll go to my friend and ask him not to do it. So just remember, your behavior has consequences.
Okay, great. So, okay, great. So I will not be debating Dr. Josh on slavery in the Bible. That's great. No biggie. He's not the only atheist on YouTube.
He's not even close. He's not even an atheist. And
I don't need to debate him. We'll get thinking you're special.
Yeah.
If he ever challenges me in the future, the answer is no. Just for saying that.
The difference between him and you is you don't even have a high school education, and he could read Hebrew, Greek, and so I don't know if you want to be challenging. I don't know if you really want to challenge. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about Dr. Jack. I'm just saying, not the man you want to challenge.
Anyway, so
it's not as easy as taking a safe and putting it in the car.
Skylar just salty because he lost the last debate with me.
Okay, I lost that debate with you. The 8,000 people who watched it and made fun of you in the comments. You're so.
8,000
this is why we have to be real. G-Man is either oblivious or a troll, and I can appreciate the trollness of him. But if he's oblivious and he actually thinks he won that debate,
why don't you ask SJ who won? Why don't you ask SJ who won?
Sure, we could ask. What was that debate? It was the morality.
You don't want SJ's opinion now, do you?
Yeah, I still could give it. I'm happy to
ask
SJ
Skylar,
opinion on whether you
Skylar
want
what
to
the
debate
difference
that
between
you.
subjective morality is and objective morality.
It wasn't objective morality debate. We were talking about can you be good with God. You don't even know what the debate topic.
We were talking about you. We were talking about you being good without God, and you.
No, that
you
wasn't the
obviously
debate
couldn't be
topic.
good without God. And it took you a half
This
an
is
hour
why
to
you
figure out what I
lost.
was doing. It took you
This
a
is why
half
you
an hour
lost.
to figure out what I was doing.
This is why James. I knew what you were doing 5 minutes in. That's why I told you to stop it. The moderator kept
No,
telling
you
me this was
didn't.
off
No, you
topic.
didn't. You were being a kinder, more gentler.
Yes,
Skylar.
I kindly told you to go eat a bag of
Anyway,
dicks.
I
But at
appreciate
the
the
same
invite.
time,
That's-
right?
I don't want to lose no more brain cells.
Listen. James had to correct you multiple times and tell you to get back on. I'm just
Okay, well,
telling you.
listen, guys. I know it's you guys. I mean, we'll figure out how to make this work better. But I have to say, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming in here with your diverse perspectives. I think we can come together on a lot of points, and we can differ on a lot of points. But, what's that, G-Man?
I'm gonna block Dr. Josh because of what Skylar said. So Dr. Josh is gonna be
He's gonna be
blocked.
so hard.
No dating for me. For
That you
Dr.
block
Josh.
him.
No, don't block Dr. Josh. So yeah,
No,
he's
I mean, SJ, you don't want to break Dr. Josh's heart now.
yeah. Well, let's go. Listen, guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end the stream, but I want to say thank you to everybody for coming in here, and thank you. I'm going to put links to Skylar's channel because I already have links to Rob's and to G-Man's in my description. So I'll add a link to Skylar's in case you guys want to jump over there and check out his stuff. And what's that?
Subscribe to SJ.
Oh yeah, please like and subscribe and come again. And I will do this again next week, either Monday or Wednesday. I haven't figured out the day yet. Probably Wednesday, actually. And so we'll go from there. So thank you so much, everybody. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut it out.
Thank you, SJ.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah,